Hi, welcome to this tutorial series. So this tutorial series is aimed at anyone wanting to improve their design skills, or if you're just getting started in design. I think that this will be especially helpful for 3D artists. Coming from a 3D art and environment background, I hope that this tutorial will help contextualize ideas so that it's easy for people to start applying them. In this tutorial, we won't cover every single thing in design. I chose what I felt was the most important topics and included breakdowns of the principles for context and practical application. The focus of this series is visual design, which in my opinion is design without context. I also think this is called aesthetics, but I would prefer to not use that word. I want to state right away that I think that in art there's no true good or bad, and that it is subjective. Though I do feel strongly that for production art we must make appealing designs and images for the general public or purpose. I think that visual design is how you make an image pleasing to the eye without context or subject. While I believe strongly that form and function go together, I think it's important to break them down and understand them separately. We're going to go over the vocabulary, basic principles, and try and contextualize these abstract visual ideas. With these tools, we will learn to break down our images and attempt to diagnose issues in our projects and grow. We're going to be covering the following subjects: vocabulary, how to learn, evenness, echoing, rhythm and repetition, shape contrast, depth and overlap, grouping, detail distribution, and balance and flow. Control and mastery. Mastery is our goal to achieve one day. To achieve this, we need to have control of the outcome of our design, but consistently. As a designer, we will draw from mental rule books, things we've heard or the way that we see things, and externalize those ideas as art. As we develop no rules and ideas about what we see as good, we get a better end result. A simple but obvious statement, but something that I've seen many fall short at when it comes to design theory. They half invest, they maybe learn a few buzzwords or tips. If you truly wish to be good, ask yourself, how can I apply this principle? Could I be applying this idea, word, or mental tool in a new way? These are questions that lead to mastery, not, yeah bro, I know what hierarchy is. I see vocabulary words as tools to diagnose what you do like and deconstruct what you don't or don't understand. I feel that it gives me a much greater sense of control over the end result, and each time I refine this process. Eventually you'll have a process to get something good consistently. So I just want to talk about my thoughts on design and this subject as a whole. So I looked up the definition of design, and it said, purpose, planning, or intention that exists or is thought to exist behind an action, fact, or material object. The universe is in a way designed, not in a religious sense, but it has laws and rules that we think govern it. Whether or not we know them does not matter. The point that there is, in a sense, a pattern and purpose to the universe. The human mind will interpret this pattern subconsciously. And based on how that mind sorts that information, we can start to see the connection with design. As a designer, we must externalize in our art the internal human anticipation and play with the patterns that the world has imprinted upon the mind. Visual design is like marketing for art. For making catchy music, it's the same kind of thing. It's about learning how to do it though. Marketing, game design, any type of design. The goal is to work with the human mind, to understand them emotionally, mentally, and manipulate them in order for them to feel a certain way or take a specific action. I hate to say it, but production design and production art are the exact same thing. This tutorial isn't focused on functional design, but rather the pure abstraction of images, design without context, and for the human observer. I wanted to call out my friend Ji-Hoon Kim for opening my eyes to this connection years ago. It has fascinated me ever since I started seeing that and thinking about it, and I started to see parallels between my design and between my beliefs and other personal interests, and just questioning why. Art is of both the viewer and the viewed, and the mind is the common thread. I think that it's a mix between extrapolating abstract patterns of nature subconsciously and our brain's interpretation of that data. Most humans share a very similar existence and all the same universal laws in a similar environment. It comes down to, I believe, the things that aren't visual such as the specific environment and the types of things that have happened in your life or that you've been exposed to that cause different tastes. But I think that when we talk about visual design, to a degree, this common thread of a similar environment and universe is why we have a very defined sense of aesthetics in the arts and in music and in other things, because there's a certain pattern. So to demonstrate this connection, let's talk about an alien dude. If we had an alien guy, I'm not sure his senses of aesthetics would be the same as ours, but I bet in some ways they would be, and in some ways not so much. An alien may not have the same environment, nor the same way of understanding and processing the information that's given to him, especially if he's highly evolved beyond us. So let's assume that they're of similar intelligence and developmental level as we are. A good example would be if our alien friend lived on a world with a stark red atmosphere. For us, red is a sign of danger and alertness. So to him, maybe it's like the blue sky is to us, relaxing, reminding us of nature, a whole different sense of color. Maybe our alien grew up on a planet with extreme gravity. Maybe everything on that planet is much more flat, and to avoid falling or jumping and facing the extreme forces of gravity, they move slowly. A steep hill could become a graveyard, and therefore maybe they have a stronger aversion or dislike of anything too angular or dynamic. What if the alien is colorblind, or better yet, not even bipedal? How will these factors change his sense of aesthetics? All humans share a common planet, visually not the exact same, but governed by the deeper laws of nature. Humans are more likely to share a very similar sense of aesthetics. While some things can differ, I think some things are universal. We exist in the same universe. We have a lot in common. For example, spiky shapes will always be aggressive to all living beings, I think, because if they interact with something sharp, they'll be damaged, given enough force is applied. Anyone on a planet can get stabbed by a knife, or even fall on a sharp rock. It's just geometry. It's safe to assume sharper shapes will be seen as more aggressive no matter where in the universe you are. These laws of nature, through its omnipresent hierarchy, affect what we see every single day and everywhere. They created the planets and the stars on a smaller scale. They also created the way that the grass blends with the dirt, or the size of the trees, or how we open doors, or what we consider light and dark in the sky. You can't have figure without the background, and nothing in this universe exists in a vacuum. Everything is relational, and human understanding creates separation. These patterns are created by the universe and echo throughout. For example, when we create something, we often start by blocking it out. Those initial choices that we make affect our final design so strongly that it'll ripple throughout our work until we're doing the final polish. In the same way, the laws of nature are present in all things at all times. They created and propagated this world. I should say that there's an order or a pattern to the universe in all scales. While at times the universe is imbalanced, parts of the universe will then seek balance. One of my favorite quotes is by Xavier Renegade Angel, and he said, "The universe is a ballet of opposing forces." I hope by this point you start to see the difference and the parallels between the universe, which is internalized by our mind, and design. This is a super exciting topic to me, and I just wanted to share my thoughts on the matter because I think that they're important for understanding design. So before we get into the tutorial, let's figure out and talk about quickly what makes a good design. So these are my opinions and how I see it. Other people may break it down differently, but to me, there's three things that make a solid design, at least in what I do. So thematic design, this has to do with the purpose of the design. If you're trying to convey, for example, a cowboy character, we wouldn't give him a space helmet, a Supreme shirt, and Yeezys. No, we'd use the proper themes to sell an idea. This is thematic design. Then we have contextual design. What is it? How does it work? What mechanism shall we choose? To me, these are questions that concern contextual design. It's the how and what of a design to me. To me, visual design, which is what we're covering in this tutorial, is essentially, as I've said, aesthetics. It's design without context. It's simply how an image looks, making it pleasing or displeasing to serve a purpose. And so that's what we're going to be talking about in this tutorial. And so without further ado, thanks for supporting me. I hope that this tutorial is helpful, and let's get into the fun and not boring long chapters. So I'll see you guys there.